out to the show and fall at your door. We got that info for you. Touchdown on that plane and buy anything. More than just a podcast for you.
This is where I want to set a foundation. I'm probably going to ask questions 3 and 4 together because it's a compare and contrast. But before I do this, let me just go back because I want the parents listening to this show to understand the business of recruiting for basketball does not get done on social media. Like, this is our 3rd show of the year specifically for recruiting. I've asked this question, football, soccer, and now basketball parents who are listening to this show. I don't care who is following little Sally on Insta, who is on little Johnny friends list, whether it's Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat,
It
the
don't matter.
Twitters. No, the business of recruiting does
Yeah.
not get done on social media. So I will say
That should be
that.
like a statement.
Like, I might have to put that on my socials today. Like, because I really want to highlight, I'm highlighting this because one of the questions that I get is, well, am I being recruited because so and so followed him or so and so followed her? No,
No.
parents, I didn't say this. I am not the basketball expert. We have basketball experts who are echoing what our soccer experts and our football experts said. Social media is an avenue for interaction and visibility, but it is not the place where the business of recruiting gets done. So now I can get off my soapbox and we're going to compare and contrast. So the question is, the first part is, what has the typical recruiting journey for a basketball player been like pre-COVID? And then the second part is, how has COVID changed the recruiting process? Is what I want parents listening to and athletes listening to this show to understand is this is what you could have expected in the past, but this is the reality. And I will say this before I let you answer, and I could be wrong, but I am of the mindset that the changes that were made in 2020 because of COVID will have a ripple effect at least until the class of 2024. That is I am of the mindset. So I believe that I'm purposely asking this question so we can have a benchmark baseline. So when my mamas come to me and be like, well, it's not, and they say, I'm be like, go to episode, go to the basketball episode and listen, because there is a true difference in my opinion. So having said that, again, the question is, part A, what has the typical recruiting journey of a basketball player been pre-COVID, and how has COVID changed the recruiting process?
I'll speak because from the perspective of I've had in the past 6 years, I've had 90 players go on to get scholarships for my camps, and I have an NCAA approved scouting service, literally that coaches subscribe to for information about players. So the basketball recruiting, the process was freshman year, and we're talking about someone who's kind of starting to establish himself as a college level player. Freshman year, maybe you get some buzz. Maybe you get some buzz. You receive a small amount of traction from your either high school or AAU.
Okay.
Coaches cannot contact you as a freshman. They cannot. Now, back in the day, they could send you letters per se as a freshman, but since they don't send letters anymore, they cannot directly contact you. Now they can contact your coach and ask questions about you, and what that has turned to is the coach tells the player tweets out, I'm hearing from such and such now, and so that's how it is. But by NCAA law, they cannot contact you as a freshman. So going into sophomore year, they still can't contact you. But hopefully sophomore year, I mean, a player who's starting to establish himself as a future college level player. I want to talk about the grades because the grades have to be there. But for a minute, I'm just talking about a 4.0 student who can't play basketball and go get a scholarship. So let's talk about players who have the ability, okay, for a minute. Now, without ignoring grades, because those have to be there, but we're talking about players.
Okay.
Okay. So sophomore year, hopefully that, if you're talking about a for sure Division I kid, they're starting to establish themselves. First, the freshmen establish themselves in their area. Sophomores need to establish themselves as one of the top players in their state. If they can kind of establish that, then what will happen is, and also, you know, play some AAU and get seen amongst other players in the region.
Okay.
And that are not in their you know, local area. June 15th, after your sophomore year, coaches can then reach, and we're talking Division I and II. Coaches can then directly contact you. So while before that they might have, they were allowed to contact your coach, a lot of college coaches aren't calling a coach about a freshman or a sophomore unless he's a can't miss and they just want to get in early. But we're talking about, you know, a little bit less than a can't miss.
Like Bronny James, they was calling him freshman year.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You know, or more than that, you know, I don't, you know, if that's your demographic, we'll talk about it. But you tell me if your demographic are slightly less than can't miss. So if you have established yourselves as one of the best players in the state, well, June 15th after your sophomore year, then you might be starting to get some calls now. And those calls will be exploratory, probably of an exploratory nature. And remember, it's June 15th. So it's, hey, what were your grades? You know, like what path are you on? We'll call up to the school, get a transcript, but they want to hear you on the phone, talk to you, find out who you're going to play with that summer in AAU so they can follow you. And so then, depending on how the summer goes, is depending on whether offers start coming in. If you haven't established yourself then, in the fall of your junior year, there's another open period for basketball where coaches can actually come to your high school. It's like 22 days in September. So you might have a college coach or two who comes in and checks you out. Now we're talking about fall of junior year. This was the old process. So they'll come to your high school because they've seen you in the summer in that environment of AAU. And they put that into context because those aren't your normal teammates. You're probably only practicing once or twice a day. But then they want to come see you at your high school when you're with your largest structure setting, probably. So depending on how you perform in those fall workouts, there's where maybe the offers could come in junior year. But again, you have to be of a certain level to start getting offers as a junior in basketball.
Okay.
And because it's only 12 people. You know, football's 50-man rosters. That's different. We have more offers to give out. We have to fill a 50-man roster, we have to give out 70 offers a year amongst various positions. But to fill a 12-man roster in basketball, you know, we're only going to get 4 offers out to in the country, if that makes sense, depending on how many seniors we have on our team. So September rolls around and, you know, you may have an offer, you may not, but then you play your junior year. And that's where, for most basketball players, after their junior year of high school, spring and summer in AAU is where most average college level kids start to get the most of their offers, is after their high school junior year in that AAU spring setting, because you're moving up to the highest level 17U AAU and they're getting to see you against those outside of your region. So that was the old process. COVID is different now.
Wow. That was dope. That was dope.
And that was, again, that's the average Division I or II player. We're not talking about an elite or a late bloomer, or we're just talking about somebody who's, you can see, I'm like, they're probably going to play college. You know, I just want to be specific who I'm talking about.
Okay, I'm with you. And so late bloomer, I won't take us on a tangent, but you you say stuff, and then my question will be, I have the attention span of a toddler. So, so I'll be like, I'm going to put a pin on that late bloomer, because that gives me the idea that, I mean, we all know that the elite journey is very different.
Yes.
There's,
Mhm.
the level of catering to the elite athlete is quite different. But I do appreciate you for speaking to the bulk of the world.
Mhm.
And we'll have to see if we can tie in that late room, because I'm gonna be honest, every mama thinks she gave birth to the next LeBron James or Michael Jordan. Like,
Why not?
I mean, I am not mad at you. Have the highest level of confidence in your baby. Yes,
Yeah.
you got Cheryl Miller. You
Yeah.
do. The reality is
There can only be one.
the reality is that everybody, like, how many Reggie Millers do you know? How many Cheryls do you know? Like, that's just the reality. And I'm not even mamas. Don't y'all know how I roll? I'm not ever gonna lie to you. So if you're mad, you just gonna be mad. Even I did not give birth to the next Deion Sanders. I just
Mhm.
knew that my baby was gonna be the premier DB. Went to college and decided to play as a receiver. Who knew? All my hopes and dreams. Just so I appreciate you guys so much for speaking to the average, the most common journey. I won't say average, but most common journey. And you've done something brilliant, and I love you for this. I tell moms all the time that the journey is different for everyone. And
Yes.
even with the journey being different for everyone, the journey is different for what's considered an elite athlete. Like, see, I didn't even have to tell you to be different. You already let mamas, you heard it here. There are elite athletes. There's the common path with variations, and
And
then
I have a category that we call the underrated, where everyone's assuming that because you're the tallest, you can always dunk. You're the shortest, you're automatically going to be a point guard. You're tough, so you're always going to be in the center or defense. And people put into certain categories. Meanwhile, the body structure may fit that, but their style of play may be different. So always being mindful, as a parent, that okay, which way is this particular coach pushing my kid in? Because when the recruiter comes, when I see my kid playing outside of the team or with a different team, they're doing different. So I don't want them to have any recruiter coming in doing something different that is not really to their style of play, to their strength. So that's where you have to come in and be voiceful and say, okay, you're not one particular category. You could be, encompassed to various forms. You could move around the court. You could do different things. So work with the coach, work with the team and say, okay, if this is a day that there's a recruiter coming in, I want my child to have the utmost opportunity to play diverse of it, to showcase the skills, to showcase his strength on it, because you don't want to be just put into that one field. Like Reggie said, there's like 12 people I'm looking for, 12 people across the country. And currently you may be the top in your elementary school, but 12, you're not the top when you get to this level. So you don't want to start with that categorized section and ignore those who may not always be as voice, louder and yelling, and thinking because they're not yelling or saying anything, they're not really good. So I'm always mindful of those that we call the underrated one, where you may think, oh, they just, they're always passing the ball. Okay, there's points and assists. There's need for that particular position. So be mindful of that so that you're not always pushing them to one side. Yes, we all give birth to the next whoever in our mindset, but we have to also be honest and realistic with ourselves where we know the strengths are, and don't push them too far, but also don't pull them back either. And that helps when it comes to the recruiting side, because if somebody's coming and say, oh, I saw your kid play and he was doing this and that, you're like, no, you're looking at the wrong kid. Or yes, you were looking at the wrong kid, because I know that's how my child plays. Yeah.
that's a gem right there. I like that.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
like that.
I mean, we're their number one fan. I'm one of those that always have my phone. I'm always recording. I'm always yelling. I'm always screaming. So, and then go back home and you review the videos and everything, just so they can learn from it. And also, I can rewatch it again. I said, you spend money paying internet fees to watch other big guys play. You're enjoying it while we watch you. so that when you get to that recruiting stage, if somebody's coming in and asking you for video and they're editing it and they're looking at it, you already saw it live as to how it is. So when you meet with them, current state right now, there's no face to face, it's all virtual. So if we're reviewing a video together, you can say, yes, I remember this particular game, where you're looking at, okay, how do you perceive it? And from a mom's perspective, we're always going to say our kids are good, but I'm also on the other side that I'm realistic of it. So if someone's BSing you, you can speak up and say, no, that particular call, after the fact, like speak with it, right? So that current state, you don't have the visibility for them to see them live. So you have these recordings that you could show and have them be able to view and edit together. But you also have to be honest about giving the full video and not just only the highlights, the 10 minutes reel, the 5 seconds reel, because everybody wants to show what the ball going in. But nobody wants to show how they cut the ball or how the ball was taken away from them, right? So be realistic, especially in this COVID era of where the recruiting aspect is definitely different based on like Reggie was saying. It's different. There is no one to watch, especially here. We're in lockdown. There's no game. So how do you get yourself out there? The videos, but the videos have to be honest and real, as if it's like a live game, and be able to provide those feedbacks to the recruiter that you're looking at and make sure that they're also honest in what they're seeing. Yeah.
Can I give just a quick perspective to a mom?
Yes, you can. That's what you're here for. Absolutely.
Okay, because this is an exact scenarios. I mean, a mom I love to death who she brings her son from out of state to my camps, and literally flies. She will go to the wit's end. She does not spoil them, but she will go to the wit's end to try to set them up for success. Like she brings them across 7 states to my camps. So I mentor her on certain things. And when you talk about perspective of a mom, she recently asked me, her son was recently on a highlight, but in a not great way. He was the one getting dumped on in a video that's gone viral in the last 2 weeks. This is recent, okay? So he's still fighting his way. He's almost there, but he's still fighting his way. He just has a little more growth to go to become a scholarship player. Like right now, if he was on the same path, I think he could walk on, or he could play at the NAIA pay for play level. Okay. So he's not far from a scholarship level, but we still got some work to do. Okay. So he's on the end of this video, right? She sends it to me privately and she says, well, it looks like we made a highlight, just light enough that we could joke about it amongst ourselves. And I say, yeah. So she's putting together, every quarter she puts together tapes for him to put out. And she put that on there. And she said, well, I said, tell me your thought process. And she said, because it shows he had heart to go and try. I said, no. Like, I know your baby got heart, but you got to show something that shows heart being successful. Like that heart that your baby has, and I call him her baby. I got to stop doing that because that puts her in that mode. I said, that heart your baby got and that you want everybody to appreciate, that does nothing for a coach who makes $1 million a year. He don't need your baby's heart in that way. Show something where he's showing heart, where he was successful. Now, I'm glad that hasn't crushed him, because some kids, they be on the bad end of a highlight. Oh, they're crushed for 2 weeks. We can't, you know what I mean? It's hard for them to recover from that. But just, again, this is perspective for other moms. Your baby, like, you love him, but what does he do? Or what, if you are putting stuff out there, if you are his hype team, others only love what your baby can do for them.
Yeah.
Say that one more time.
Others only love what your babies can do for them. So don't put that up there. I know it show heart, the fact that he slid over there to try to block that, but he's supposed to. You understand? Now, between us, that's a big step for him, because he used to wouldn't. So I told her, well, his next path is he's going to block the next one, eventually. But nobody else outside knows that story. So amongst, as I talk to you every day, I'm ecstatic,
Mm.
but you can't put that in a highlight tape because it's not going to be perceived how you perceive it. So, because it only has to be perceived in, can this guy help me keep my $1 million job? I got a big house and I want to keep this house. And so I don't need nobody who's getting dunked on. Even though it happens, I know that. But it's so many people who are showing them blocking that shot. So just some perspective for the moms. I'm not trying to rain on the day or your baby, but other people don't love him like you love him. They love what he could do for you.
But that's brilliant, though. That's why we do the show, because it's very difficult for moms to accept that everybody doesn't see your baby the way that you see your baby. And again, going back to, where does the business of basketball recruiting get done? It's almost like, when people say human resources, human capital, I use the word commodities. I say you have coaches and schools that are trading in commodities, and the commodity happens to be your baby, who you love and you want nothing but the best for. They are going to ensure that they get a return on investment. That return on investment does not always align with what your expectations are. They're not the ones that are going to make sure your baby gets a degree. That's on you.
Yeah.
Opportunity, and they're going to do what they have to do to keep her eligible, so that she could play, so that they could get W's, so that they can get contracts and pay bills and
They'll
live in the
give
big
them the
house.
door, but it's up to you to help them go through that door.
Absolutely. And you
Sure.
have to, I have seen, I'm taking us off on a tangent. I'll bring us back, but I have seen moms wonder, why doesn't my child have a degree? Well, darling, like, you just dropped that like, you don't stop being a mom when they get to be adults. You still have to check in, because nobody is going to go harder for your child than you do. You
Mhm.
still have to be the one to say, we said we wanted to be a banker. Are you online? Are you on the path to get the degree that's helping you to be the banker?
So this goes back to what I was saying in terms of questioning and assessing prior to signing anything, doing the interview with the school, with the recruiter, with the coaches, and say, okay, let's say we decide to commit to you. What is the academic schedule aspect of it? Yes, we're coming in on the sports aspect of it, but I want them to come in 4 years later with a degree. Because what if after that 4 years or the fifth year, they break a leg? They still have their brain, they still have their degree to do something else, to give back and start their business if that's what they want to do, right? You're not going to, the ball stops at some point, whether it be you bouncing it, but you can continue doing it. So this is where the early stages of the assessing comes in. Not because somebody messaged you on Instagram or Facebook and it looks nice and you look at their post, it looks like they put all these nice pictures together. They know, oh yes, I'm going to dump my child to you for 4 years so you can get a win and you build your school resume, you build your school credits, you build your school this, but my child comes out with nothing. No, I need to make sure, where is it? Are the teachers aware? What's the relationship with it? What's this, like, basic things. For us here, for what I realize is that even from high school getting into college, university level, they go far back as your grade 7, or you guys say 7th grade marks. That's how far it goes back in looking at where your academics are. So it's not that you just got into the 9th grade or the grade 9 and all of a sudden they're looking at your numbers in terms of how your average is. It goes further back to elementary school. So I always tell that to the moms, like, be aware, especially when they're getting from that grade going up. Everything matters, and not just about getting A's or B's, but also understanding what is being taught. Because you may get teachers when you get to the college, university level, that's quick to pass you, but do you really understand that 1 + 1 is 2? Or are you thinking 1 + 1 is 3, right? Just because they want you to get away. So that always goes back to it. So the early stages, as part of the assessing, as part of recruiting, is always be there, like ask the questions. Even if I know the answer, I will ask 3 or 4 people the same question just to make sure if I get the same answer from the same school, different, like whatever, as many as you. And for me, I always have my book. I write everything. because memories are always gone. I write everything. Okay, what was your name again? What was your contact? Oh, okay, all right, we'll be in touch. Those are things I always say as a follow up with it, because right now business cards are social media tags, right? You're not really sending letters like you were saying before. You're not sending, even emails can get lost in the spams, right? But you need something tangible to always follow through when it comes to the recruiting side. And I think just being there in the forefront, parents being part of it is as much, because it's a business. And I'm not going to give you my child as an employee just for the fun of it so that you can make your millions. And when they're done 4 years, they have nothing to show for. They may have rings and trophies, but what else do they do? Are they going to have to go work at McDonald's now as a drive-through, which is nothing wrong with it, but based on their caliber, as you say, working with, let's say, Reggie, all these amount of years that you are dedicated to it, you don't want to come out at the end with nothing to show for yourself. And then the mental aspect of it would kick in, which is a whole different topic that we'll probably talk about a different time. Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. So the recruiting, previous and current, I say current is harder right now. It's really, really harder. Way harder than it probably was. Yeah.
I didn't even get into that side. I just gave you the previous year. Right now, it's, oh my God, these babies they're up against a machine right now. I'll let you go forward with the questions, but I mean, right now it's a whole nother monster of what they're up against in the basketball world. It's just.
Come on.
Oh.
Okay. Well, I mean, COVID. Every winter athlete in the NCAA gets this year back.
You better tell them, because I told them that knowing your competition and your competition isn't who you think it is. Come through, because somebody else needs to tell them this.
Every current college player gets this year back. It didn't happen. So you're a 16-year-old and you're the best player in your district that has 3 high schools. That's it, 3 high schools. So you're one of the best players amongst 30-something 16 and 17-year-olds. And while you used to be recruited, now coaches can bring back their 20-year-old. Besides coaches can bring back their 20-year-old, they're going to waive the transfer sit-out rule. So now, the only reason they didn't do it this year is because football coaches pushed it back. When they were going to do it, NCAA football coaches said, we don't have enough time, we'll lose too many people. But next year they're going to do it, and they're going to pass it. So when a college kid is unhappy, he can leave and he can be ineligible. He can leave and he can be eligible immediately. So now college coaches don't want high school kids. I just talked to a Big East coach this morning. Absolutely this morning. He called me about an elite high school kid. And when I mentioned, we talked about that kid, ran down the measurables for that kid. And when after that was done, I mentioned another kid. He said, I'm trying to get as old as possible. Boom, in the conversation. Trying to get as old as possible. While I used to, 2 years ago, we could have talked for 40 minutes. I could have threw 4 names out, and went down the line. But he didn't want to hear about anything except for the kid he called me about. And so you are now competing against other high school kids, and you are now also competing against college kids. And it's not just the Division I level, because right now I used to tweet out every week. I used to tweet out. I had some kids last year who I, been through my camp and I mentor. A couple of them caught me off guard. Text me last year, like April or May. Hey, coach, got anywhere for me to go? I'm leaving. Never knew that most kids I keep a dialogue with didn't know why they were leaving, except for it was a vacuum effect. Other teammates left, so they left. Okay, so now they text me, coach, you got anywhere for me to go? I left. I say, well, have you dropped out of school? Have you entered the portal, the transfer portal? No, go back, turn around, go back, because it's not enough spots. Go back. Like, I don't care if you aren't happy, go back, because what's going to happen is they're still going to recruit some high school kids. So just attrition by numbers. You got elite high school kids coming in. You got other transfers from higher coming, and everybody can't stay D1. So what's going to happen? D2 cleans up. So now D2 that used to recruit high school athletes, maybe they didn't recruit the elite high school athletes, but they recruited the next. They're waiting on Division I transfers who don't have spots left. So now they get tricked. It's trickling down to the NAIA. I mean, these babies are in trouble. They're in trouble, and as they're in trouble as far as getting a free college scholarship. You know, they are absolutely in trouble as far as that. What used to be 5% of high school players, it's going to dwindle down to 3% because every Division I is going to trickle down. Kids who are at Duke and aren't playing they're going to know they can go down to the Atlantic 10 and play immediately. Those kids who are at the Atlantic 10 see a Duke kid coming, they're going to leave. Some are good enough to go lateral. Some who dominated can go up. Some who dominated. It's a different dynamic. But the others are going to go down. Kids who are at University of Illinois Chicago, I'm not going to call out USC. The lowest of Division I's. If you were at the lowest of Division I's and somebody told you that you can do better and you weren't productive, what other Division I will want you? You were at the lowest level of Division I and you weren't playing, but you were the man in high school, but somebody done told you that, oh man, you could go somewhere else. You put into the portal, you will not get picked up. I guarantee you, let's put some money on it. I don't care that you were once a Division I recruit, you will not be in Division I again. I promise you. I guarantee you, unless your former coach is a coach and somebody do you a favor, you will not be back in Division I. So now you have to go to Division II, which is okay, it's still okay, but that ain't what you wanted. Overall, me and as an adult, any college is fine, but I know that's not what you wanted. So now you're hurt, your pride is hurt. You at a Division II. Well, those Division II players see that Division I kid coming down. Where they gonna go? Not sideways, not up, down. NAIA now gets former Division I and Division II players just like that. And where's the high school? Who wants the high school kid?
This is what I call this, Gifty, you've seen me talk about this, knowing your competition. Like parents need to really understand that your competition is not the other high school kid.
No, you're supposed to already be above them. You're supposed to, if you're a true college player, you're supposed to already have been above them and eliminated them.
Yeah.
And it's a hard pill for parents to swallow right now. Especially parents who have spent years taking them to camps, buying the things, when I say that, it is my firm belief that the ripple effect, we won't get halfway right until 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And that's halfway right. And that's provided rules
come back about you got to sit out, where that's going to discourage so much transferring and things. But
if that's permanent, and there's some key things that are happening at the congressional level and the Supreme Court level, I won't even take us there, but parents do need to understand that COVID has forever
changed everything.
The landscape. It's not going to go back. And so I spend time on this question. Donovan, I feel like we isolated you. You comments, thoughts? I mean, you've been through this.
Yeah, I've been through the process. That was pre-COVID. And my situation would not have been good in this situation because I was one of those late bloomers and didn't start getting looks until after his senior year. I went to a couple camps, state camps and everything like that. And that's when the recruiting process really started. I mean, it didn't end up in basketball at first. I wanted to do track first because I didn't like the offers I was getting in basketball. But I don't believe that would have happened now if I didn't, with this situation, because kids are missing out on their senior years. Like you said, in Michigan, they're not even going to get to probably have a basketball season. So what about that kid that's a senior that they get a look at junior year? And now he's forced to go to prep school. And what prep school is going to want him if he didn't have a good year there? So now he's end up paying for school and no guarantee that he might get a look to go to college and play at the next level. It's just a huge difference. And it's kind of scary for the kids. Like he was saying, it's not good.
It's a little scary. It's a little scary though. But I have like one athlete that every now and then messages and I just keep telling like, it's freaking out. Oh my goodness, okay, I'm preparing for my SATs. Nobody's responding to my emails. So just going through like etiquette and trying to make sure that he stands out in terms of how he is seen. I said, you know what, you're not the only one right now, but be consistent in yourself. Don't go changing or putting anything else that's part of who you are. Make sure your parents are also part of the process and make sure that you are consistent in what you are saying. And no now doesn't mean no forever. As Reggie said, like if you're moved to a lower level now, that's another opportunity for you to say, okay, I was once there, now I'm here. How do I get back and work towards it? So no now doesn't mean no forever. But if you understand why that no was, you can work towards another level. So I think for parents' perspective, it's not like the one we really wanted in that bucket said no. Oh my God, now it's all over. No, they're not the only one. We already, as we started, there's multiple different prep schools. There's multiple different ways of being recruited. There's different avenues. Just make sure that each one that you're treading meets where your ultimate goals are and being that open mind to it and being clear on where it's leading you to. Not because, like you said, somebody comes in and say, I'm going to drop out and go here. Why? Because everybody's doing it. So if everybody's jumping off the bridge, you're going to do that too. They're doing it for the things that assess and make sense to them. So if they all leave and you stay here, that's fine. There's social media. You can still talk to them. You can still be friends outside of it. But stay here, finish your course, do what you need to do before you move to the next level, right? So it's hard now, but it's a lot more, I guess, getting both parents and student athletes to be more comfortable and persistent in where it is that they want to be, so they're not easily persuaded to go through different routes and changing their mind in the midst of it just because it's open season. You're going to go put in there. No, if it's open season, you're comfortable where you are. Stay where you are. There'll be people that will come and join you too. You don't need to go follow, right? That's where you can get lost easily.